10 rules for making your first $1 million. Okay, so let's get right into it. There's three first $1 million. Okay, so let's get right into it. There's three different ways to do it. One is the fast method. The other one is the average method. And the other one is the slow method. The fast method, you'll make your first million within 5 to 10 years. High risk, high chaos, low quality of life for 3 to 5 years. You're maybe a startup founder, maybe a salesperson, sales leader, but a lot of pressure is on you. And you're working 80 hours every single week. You're working on Saturdays, a little bit of Sunday, and you're going on this for like 5 to 10 years, okay? So the second one is the average method, takes 10 to 20 years. Here's how this looks. You're mid-level risk type of a person. You're supporting role in a chaotic environment with a decent life, meaning you don't want all the pressure to be on you. You don't want to be the person that 24/7 you're on call. People are calling you. This didn't work, that didn't work, you're having dinner with your wife. You don't want that. You're okay with having some of it, but not full-on founder, and you're okay with that. You do have equity, maybe in a startup that you have an equity in a company. Eventually, maybe you earn that equity in a company. That is your way of making the money. Or you're a salesperson that's very good at being a great market. You're very good with clients. You eventually make your first million. Last but not least is the slow method. Takes 20, 30, 40 years. This is little to no risk. You have a balanced quality of life. You come home at 5 o'clock every night, maybe 6 o'clock every night. You invest in a fund, maybe $300 a month at 12% rate of return over 30 years, which ends up being a little over $1 million. Or you do $1,000 a month at 12% over a 20-year period. You make your $1 million. Maybe you buy a multifamily home and you never sell it. Maybe your own home. You buy it, you never sell it. Maybe you've got a couple different homes. You buy the first one, take the equity into the next one, into the third one. By the fourth one, you're a millionaire. That's the slow method. Now, what I want to share with you is 10 rules on the fastest way to make $1 million with these 10 different mindset. I can come up with 50 of them, but I'm giving you just 10 of them in this video. So let's get right into it. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Gold Co. Here's what I want you to think about when it comes down to gold. My concern when it produce more gold, put my money into gold, buying your gold. So if I can be in a free 1 ounce 855-594-2758 or Ron, you're going to have to say no to almost everything. Here's what I mean by it. Hey, we're having this thing going on Friday night. There's going to be 100 people there. I want to invite you to come out and networking. Great. You're like, I really don't want to go. Well, you go. Hey, this Saturday afternoon, we got this one thing going on. Yes, no problem. Obviously, outside of what your core business is that you have responsibility and commitments to, don't drop your core responsibility of running the company. Hey, you want to meet this person? Let's do a Zoom. Do you want to meet that person? Let's go meet him. You want to have a cup of coffee? Yes. I was doing 6 o'clock breakfast at Denny's, 7 o'clock breakfast, like literally my 6 a.m. meeting would go till 7. My 7 a.m. breakfast would show up. On the first one, I would have eggs. On the second one, I would have steak at Denny's at the same exact table. Then 8 o'clock, he goes to work. I go to my office. I have a meeting. Then I have a lunch appointment at 3. I was, yes. Late at night, hey, do you want to help me to this bar? Let's meet at this 11 o'clock at night. It's the only time I can meet you. It doesn't matter. Hey, I can meet you in San Diego and I want to introduce you to 5 months. It doesn't matter. I am driving. I would put 30,000 miles per year on my car just to say yes to everything because I knew I was one client away from making my first million. I was one contact away, one relationship away. That was my mindset. So I was like, oh, it's going to be this guy, it's going to be that guy, it's going to be this guy. Eventually, I met a guy at a hotel near LAX who gave me 600 leads that made me my first 30, 40 million bucks just because of one contact. But again, say yes to almost everything at the beginning. Later on, when you make your 10, 100 million, you're going to have to say no to almost everything. Point number 2.
Good morning, guys. How you guys doing today? Let me hear you guys say hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, guys. Morning.
Good morning.
I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Patrick Bet-David. I know a lot of you probably are. He's probably one of the best business channels on YouTube. I've watched this guy for, I would say, over 5 or 7 years, probably grow from having a small YouTube channel to having one of the biggest YouTube channels, period, not even just in the financial space, but also recently leaving his previous career where he was in the insurance business. And you wouldn't even have known it if you watched his older videos because he never spoke about insurance. He never talked about his company. He always talked about value and how he can help entrepreneurs get ahead. And a fast track to today, this guy has now one of the biggest, if not the biggest, business podcasts in the world. And he recently, you guys probably don't know this, but he recently took an ownership in the New York Yankees. So for a guy who came from Iran, back in the 90s, fleeing obviously the war and all of that stuff, and having nothing, absolutely nothing when he came to this country, then serving in the military, and now, you know, probably being close to being a billionaire in a short amount of time. It really does speak volumes about a person. So the little tips that he's giving you in these videos, I mean, you got to kind of listen to that. You know, I mean, sometimes we find ourselves in similar positions, and we're, you know, we ask ourselves, are we doing the right thing? Are we not doing the right thing? Well, there's a lot of people out there who have already laid the groundwork and gone through a lot of those steps that I suggest that you guys constantly surround yourselves in. Even if it's not in person, you can do it by following the right channels, the right media sources. One of the things I've always said to people is, if you find yourself watching negativity all day long or worthless garbage all day long, and that's your source of entertainment, such as like watching bad news and getting into the mindset that the world's about to end, or watching things that add no value to your life, things that are just like drama filled, try to get rid of that because it's toxic. Surround yourself with things that are going to uplift you, positivity. It doesn't have to be business related. It could be mindset related. It could be, you know, a book you wanted to always read that you can hear it in an audio form. You know, there's a lot of things you can really sharpen your mind with, because whatever your mind is thinking, whatever you're consistently listening to, that's the reality you actually attract, believe it or not. I've gone through it plenty of times where I found myself in these funks, and then I look at what I'm listening to, and I'm listening to the end of the world stuff, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, I'm not doing anything with my life. But then immediately when I switch over to like positivity and people doing big things, I start to get big ideas too. And when I do, I start to create, and I start to be able to believe in myself that I can do these things that I've never thought of before. And I'll give you guys some really good examples of this later on in this call. But I just wanted to open up the meeting today with something a little different. You know, it's not so much motivation as it is actual actionable steps. So yeah, that's what do you guys know Patrick? You guys have seen his stuff before, I'm sure. Anyone?
No.
You guys have to look him up. He's interviewed some of the most influential people in the world. He's got a very popular interview with Kobe Bryant just shortly before he passed. And he's interviewed mob bosses all the way to, you know, everyone and anyone in between. Rudy Giuliani, everybody you could think of in this world who's like got some influence. He's interviewed them. So really good guy to learn from, and started with nothing. So if you guys are also thinking about like creating something big, whether that's in real estate, or like Ivania the other day started interviewing people, when she started a podcast channel, I said, look, start interviewing, you know, influential people. And she's like, what do I ask them? I'm like, well, if you don't know what to ask them, just go into ChatGPT and ask them, hey, listen, I'm interviewing a person who's a specialist in this field. What kind of questions should I ask during the interview? And, you know, she was like, oh, wow, that's kind of simple. I don't know why I didn't think of that. So it's all very easy, guys, but it seems hard in the beginning. Everything seems difficult, but just wanted to kind of start the meeting with that today, give you guys a little motivation on what someone else has been able to accomplish, who's probably had the chips stacked against him, probably more than us. And, you know, they could do it. Why can't we do it? Right. So there you go. So anybody got any good stories for the weekend? Anyone's got any exciting news going on?
Nothing exciting. I went into negotiation with the offer that I wrote to find out that some investors are in this area are just bonkers. They started projects and leaving them and expect full market value.
So say that again. So there's investors who have started projects and abandoned the projects?
Yeah, they're not completing them and selling the houses as is.
Oh, so they're
So
like
for instance,
starting?
one house that I put an offer in on, they purchased the house in May for $200,000
Okay.
and turned it around, and all they did was put new flooring down and toss in a couple of new appliances. They didn't pressure wash the front yard, painted the garage doors black to make it look different, and selling it as is for $270,000.
Okay. So what we're saying is they're trying to keep their resale price very low in order to be able to appeal to more people, or you think they just don't want to be invested into a house too much in the event that the market continues to slow? Or
I
maybe
think they
both.
don't want to be invested. Something is
Mhm.
scaring them off.
Got
And
it.
I guess the only way for me to really find out is, like you said, start going to these investor meetups
Yeah.
and see what the inside scoop is, because there's a lot of unfinished projects around here.
True. Well, one thing I did hear from investors recently is that you can always make money even in a downturn, but you just got to keep your price low. If you can keep your price at the medium level always, and you'll be able to turn properties pretty easily. So yeah, I mean it's slowed down seasonally. I think here in Florida it's slowed down because anything once the summer starts, things from what I hear do slow down here. I'm not sure if it's like that in Georgia too, as well, Belinda. But here in Florida, it seems things have slowed down just a tad in some areas, not all areas. But yeah, that could be a sign of the times, or it might be a sign of the season. So it's up in the air still.
And I also noticed that rent prices have come down.
Yeah, that I've been hearing. Anyone else had any insight, anything going on with them? Any good news, questions, concerns? I got some really exciting news for you guys for this week that I want to share. I'm actually going to send that. Let me see if I can send it to my computer real quick so I can pull it up. So EXP has recently just, and I think I emailed it to everyone. EXP has just recently changed their revenue share system. You guys are familiar with revenue share, right? You guys have heard that term before?
Yes.
All right, good. Let's make it short. All right, let me airdrop this to myself, and then I will show you guys in just a minute what we're talking about. Okay. Here we go. All right, here it is. I'm not sure if you can see this too well. I will try to find a better version of this. But right now, what it's showing you is that they've updated their FLQA, so frontline qualified agents. Okay, these are the agents that are closing at least one transaction every 6 months, more or less, is what this is. So what this is saying is that you guys, I'm not sure if you recall in the past, if you had 5 agents on your first tier, which means that they've closed at least one transaction in the last 6 months, they qualify to be FLQAs. That means that you would now start earning money on anyone in your second tier. And before, it used to be up to 10 agents in your second tier, then you can start making money on your third tier, so on and so forth. So now they've actually lowered it. So you only need 4 agents on your first tier, 9 on your second, 14 on your third, so on and so forth. Where now to unlock your 7th tier, which is the most profitable tier, where you earn 7%, and it could be the most massive tier, the biggest tier out there. Now you only need 30. So if you have 30 as opposed to 40, that's a big difference, guys. That's a humongous difference. You'll be able to unlock these 7 tiers a lot sooner. So that means more money in your pockets. And not only that, but a huge opportunity for you to go out there and start spreading the word to other agents who have been on the fence. Okay, this is big. I mean, literally overnight, people at EXP have probably gone from tier 6 to tier 7 and seen like a massive increase in their rev share every month. Or maybe some agents that went from tier 1 to tier 2 and have seen now enough money in their rev share where they're probably making enough to cover their mortgage payments. You know, it could be pretty significant, guys. Like this little change right here is very big. So did you guys see that when I know I sent over like a really blurry copy that Hamoudi sent me, but did you guys get a chance to look into this?
Yes, I saw it, and it's posted up on Workplace also.
Yeah. Yeah, this is very, very good stuff, guys. The other thing too that they recently released is I explained to you guys last week, I think I mentioned it briefly, was that EXP is now really going after the mom and pop broker who is maybe hurting right now or maybe seeing a big shift in their business. So they are offering I think it's somewhere around $5,000 per agent for them to transfer over. They need to have a certain amount of production criteria. They have to meet a couple of line items that in production that that is pretty standard. Obviously, if you're going to get bought out, you don't want to buy out someone who's struggling and not making any money, because then that's just a losing recipe. You as shareholders don't want the company making bad moves. But if they've got the money to go out there now and start acquiring these mom and pop shops, that really helps our numbers. That means that by the end of this year, we should be well over 100,000 agents. And you know what that's going to mean for the value of our stock? It just means more revenue, more for the bottom line, and more, what is that called? Dividends for us as well. So think about this, guys. EXP is looking really, really good, guys. If you guys have any brokers that you think might be on the fence or might be thinking about it, or might be thinking about jumping onto EXP, literally set up a call with me. We can talk about it, discuss it, put the game plan together, and see if we can't make the right connections to make sure that they get all the questions they need answered. Maybe set them up with an upcoming event or something. Anything. I'm telling you, I got a call 2 weeks ago from one of the agents in our group who he's not under me, but he's with Micah. And we always help each other. We always try to help each other with anything we can. So he calls me and he said, look, I got this broker coming on board. I'd love you to talk to him, give him your experience. And when I spoke to him, the conversation went really well, because I'm not the one that's benefiting from bringing him on. I'm not the one who brought him the opportunity. I'm just the one who is confirming his questions, right? So it's kind of like you guys, you're undecided what mechanic to go to, or you're undecided what restaurant to take your spouse to for your anniversary. So you go on Google and you start making you start checking the reviews. Now, those reviews are from people that are non-biased, that are giving you their opinion of how they saw things or how it went for them. So that's literally what you have to do. A lot of people in EXP try to kind of like the shotgun approach, where they try to ambush everyone on their own. In EXP, with anything else in life, you have to be a farmer. You got to plant the seeds. You have to be a professional inviter, which means you invite them to events so they can see for themselves. And you have to be someone who is able to ask for help. If you don't do those things, you're not going to grow your revenue team. You're not going to grow that organization, because they don't really want to change. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, oh, today I want to change brokerages. But what happens is that you plant that seed, and maybe later on down the road, that agent's like, oh man, they're taking a lot of fees out of my check. I remember Belinda spoke to me about EXP. Maybe I should give her a call. Maybe I should see what they really are offering me. Well, I'm seeing EXP signs everywhere. Oh my God, what the hell? Maybe Belinda's onto something. You know, it's just, that's all you really need to do. The problem is that a lot of us think that it's like, you've got to do it now. The opportunity is going away, and you scare people off, and it's not the right approach. I think it's counterproductive. People avoid your calls, and that's what I found turns a lot of people off. Is they're like, oh, you know, I've got all these friends in the business, but now nobody wants to be my friend, because they think all I want to do is convert them. And that's the strategy that a lot of people have burned themselves with, and he stopped recruiting or attracting altogether, because they feel like, you know, they're just burning bridges. So the best thing to do, guys, is just harness relationships with people. Just continue meeting with them for coffee, dropping little EXP hints here and there, not making hard sales at any point. And sooner or later, the people will come to you. They'll come around, but just don't be shy about it either, because there's a very fine line in which you can make people know that you're doing well and you're very happy and there's big things going on EXP, without shoving it down their throats and making them want to drink the water when they're not ready to drink anything yet. Okay. All right. So wanted to bring you guys up to speed on that. Cool. Anyone got, does anyone have any questions about the tier system? Because I know I just covered it really quickly. Is anyone still confused about how that works? It's okay if you guys are still a little confused. I can explain that for a few minutes if you need me to. All right.
I wouldn't mind if you do.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to do a refresher on it too, because the spreadsheet that I created is going to be antiquated now. We'll have to change it. But I'm going to go based off the old spreadsheet, and I'm going to show you guys what I came up with.
Good morning, Louis.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
Good. How are you? I'm so sorry. I didn't know we were on today.
Oh, no. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm sorry for being.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah,
you know,
not. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did bring in somebody under me, and she did close one deal, but
Nice.
I've never seen like, you know, you're supposed to get, I think, 3.5% or something.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
You've
I
never
have.
seen,
Yeah, I don't know. Is it at the end of the year? Is
no,
it
you get it every
something?
month. You get it as a little commission check every month. I think it's on the 28th, if I'm not mistaken, of every month.
Oh yeah, I don't recall.
Mhm.
She closed in December, back in
Yeah.
December.
You can always go into the EXP world and go to accounting and just make sure that you were paid for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
But
you so much.
they've been pretty good. I've never seen them have an issue. I've never seen them have any problems with it. All right. So this is a quick refresher on what RevShare can actually do for you, right? This is powerful stuff. Okay, powerful stuff. All right. So let's just use this example. Let's say that you've got 10 agents. I'm sorry. Let's just say you've got one agent that you attracted to the company, and that one agent ended up being a team leader who has 10 agents with them, right? So pretty big move if you do this for your first attraction. So that means that you're only getting paid on this one agent. You're getting paid on this one agent only. So if this one agent, and this is the very, very simplistic example, let's just say this one agent did average sales of $269,000. That was his average sale price. Like some are more, some are less. You know, obviously in today's market, we know it's probably closer to like 350, 400. It's probably higher, but we'll leave it at 269. Let's say we use 2.5% average commission that they earn on those deals. And let's just say they did 6 of those deals in 1 year. That average agent has now earned you $1,400, $1,412 in that year because they've closed $40,000 worth of company dollar or total I should say GCI. This is what this is, $40,000. Yeah, to the $40,000. So that means that you're walking away with about $1,400 that year. But look at this, guys. There's $16,140 that you're not getting paid on because you haven't unlocked this level 2. So now if you were to unlock this level 2 by adding, let's say 3 more agents, now you have 4 agents. Let's say you have 4 agents on board, you've unlocked level 2. I'm sorry, you've unlocked level 1, which is you've unlocked level 2 by getting 4 agents on your first tier, which is the new minimum now for breaking out of your first level. You're making $5,600 on your tier 1, and then you can unlock it now to get your 16,000 from level 2. So that just added $21,000 worth of revenue that you guys don't have to continue working for every single day and every single month in order to be able to earn this on the on extra every year. But keep in mind, guys, like once you've done this, you've unlocked a lot of power because now these people, you've got 14 opportunities for these people to now go out there and also attract their friends and family and who knows who to come onto the company. So the more you focus on growing this organization, the better it will be for you long term. And a lot of people on this call, we've got decades ahead of us in this business. So if you can start just implementing 1 hour, guys, I'm telling you, this is what Brent Gove did, just 1 hour a week to making calls or harnessing relationships, keeping those relationships going, this thing will go crazy. The opportunity is still very new. A lot of people are like, oh, the opportunity is over. I'm telling you, it's not as new as it was back then. Let's say 3, 4, 5 years ago. The opportunity is not like that. But guess what? Back then, EXP hardly had a footprint anywhere. I remember going to one of their first Christmas parties when we just joined EXP, and there was like 50 people there in New Jersey, right? Imagine a Christmas party now in New Jersey. It's probably going to be like 500 people. Who knows? Maybe 1,000 people, right? So what I'm saying is, yes, the opportunity is not as new as it was back then, but today EXP has such a stronger name that it should be easier for you to be able to attract an agent, right? Now that they've heard about all these big Keller Williams people coming over, I had to find like the one Keller Williams guy who had left in New Jersey in order to tell people, look, this is big. People from Keller Williams are leaving. Like I would give that example. Now Keller Williams people are leaving on a daily to go to EXP. So just something for you guys to think about. If we play
Quick
around with this,
question.
obviously the numbers get crazy. Yes, go ahead.
Level 2 is people that level 1 has brought into the company, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Level 2 is people that level 1 have brought in, and then
Okay, and the
so
level
on and so
3 will
forth.
be who level 2 has brought in.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all right. I think somebody has been messing around with this. Let me see if I. Oh, by the way, my daughters, I'm so proud. They have started their own business. I've helped them start their business. It's called Casey Slime Co. They've got their own website. They've already made some sale over the weekend. They're manufacturing their own products. They
Oh my
are.
God, what are they selling? What is that?
Let me show you their website. So this is it. Moms won't say no, because that's the number one thing. Mom's like, no slime in the house. So I'm like, you know what? Our slogan is going to be moms won't say no. So today we're going to upload all their slimes into their little Shopify website. And they're going to
Can you
be.
share the website address? I
Oh,
want to
absolutely.
support them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to support them.
Thank
Plus,
you.
I love slimes.
Oh, you do? They made
I do. I'm addicted.
they made a slime at church. I'm sorry, they sold the slime at church to one of the kids in their Sunday school. It was so fun. I was so proud. I almost like brought tears to my eyes. So we're having business meetings, they're having budgeting meetings. They got their business cards
That's so
coming.
cool.
Yeah, I'm so proud of them.
Wow.
Like you want your kids when they're like that, when they're that young, you want them to kind of start appreciating money and understanding like, how it's made.
100%.
So, we got their little business cards made up. We got their labels coming in for their slime. So it's pretty cool. I'm very excited. I had to share that with you guys. It was like the highlight of my weekend.
Oh, that's
Oh,
great.
congratulations.
No worries.
For this
Thank you.
one time, since I said no last year, I'll let Slime in just to give support.
Oh, thank you.
But if he lets sit out on his bed and ruin those covers one more time,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what my son does. I don't know why. He
Yeah.
plays with it with the dinosaurs.
Uh-huh.
And he's a big, I mean, you'll be proud of him with CapCut. He makes his own videos.
That's awesome. So let me explain to you. Our motto is moms won't say no, because the way the slime is made, it's not sticky. You can leave it on your clothes or in your bed and it doesn't stick to anything.
All right.
Yeah. So if you guys like it, let me know. Let me know your reviews. I will definitely help them. Yeah, with any insight we can do to make it better. But thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to share that with you guys real quick. So let's go back to this for a sec. So this, guys, I'm telling you right now, is one of the most powerful tools anywhere in real estate. Anywhere. The reason why is because I'm going to just kind of beat a dead horse at this point. I'm going to explain to you guys something that you're probably all aware of right now. It's getting harder and harder to sell a house. Our business is being attacked all the time. There is an environment that's not friendly to real estate at the moment with the interest rates and all the things that are happening right now. Lack of inventory, a lot of things are going against us. But what I will tell you is that building up a big pipeline, building up a pipeline of people that are in your organization is something that will continuously help you fill those gaps and help you fill those voids. Because when you start building something, it's hard in the beginning. It's very hard. But as time goes by, it gets very much easier. Now, the thing with real estate is it's the opposite. Like, real estate doesn't get easier over time. Real estate sometimes gets harder over time because we can't control the outside market. We can't control what's going on around us. We can only control what we do. Now, even though we could be great at what we do, sooner or later, we start to think to ourselves like, wow, I'm spinning myself in circles. I keep doing the same thing all the time, and I keep getting the same results all the time. How do I break out of this hamster wheel? How do I do it? The only way to get off the hamster wheel is to be able to have something that's automated, or should I say residual in nature. So a business as residual in nature doesn't need you to manage it, doesn't need you to be present. But God forbid, if you get sick or you get hurt and you can't work, you can't show houses, you can't go to open houses, you can't do all these things, then that means that really all you have been doing is creating yourself a very high demanding job over the years. Now, if we can focus 1 hour a week on creating something passive like this, that means then we can breathe and we can take time to kind of like do other things that might be able to also be in line with what we love, but also be passive in nature. Because what we don't want to do is create a passive source of income, such as, revenue share, and then create another job for us, right? We never want to do that. So once we break out of that rat race where we're constantly creating jobs for ourselves, the last thing we want to do is start a new venture that's a job. Okay. What do I mean by that? So let's give you an example, right? So let's just say that you broke out of the real estate rat race and you started doing really well with rev share, and you're earning 100 grand a year in rev share, which is not a very hard thing to do, guys. I'm telling you, you can probably do it in a couple of years to get out of that and make that kind of income. Now, let's just say that you've always had a passion with, I don't know, let's talk about, you always had a passion in the restaurant industry. You're passionate about cooking. Let's say you opened a restaurant and now you went in there as a cook and you started, making the food and doing all these things. Now you bought yourself a job, So instead, what you could have done is something like, invested in a company that's maybe doing really well in the restaurant industry, or maybe you could have somehow do consulting for restaurants by creating your own course on how to prepare food. You got to start thinking about how you can replicate your time and how you can get into businesses that don't require you to be present constantly. Omnipresent is better than being present, because if you could just be omnipresent by being like a consultant, or maybe being a person who is a knowledge source, you will do so much infinitely better. And it seems weird at first. It seems like, what? How can I really do that? Because we're always been conditioned to being the ones that are like all hats, right? We wear every hat, we make sure that everything gets done. But then when we look back over time, like, no, we've been able to delegate things in the past before, and we've been able to do things at a grander scale when we have other people involved. Why do we sometimes feel like we always have to be present to make a business work? No, we don't. The first thing you need to do in a business is get it working, right? So I'm not saying that you never have to be present. I'm not saying that you never have to put in some sweat equity. I'm not saying that that's not necessary. What I'm saying is, whenever you get into any industry, real estate included, the first thing we need to start thinking about is, how do I get myself out? How do I relinquish myself from this equation, and how do I get the machine still going? Some people have done it very well with the real estate model by either creating a team and getting a sales manager and then stepping out. There's been very successful examples of that. When I was at the real estate company that I opened in Jersey, I was very successful in getting myself out of sales, but I was still present because I was still overseeing things, even though, I had help. It just felt like I needed to be there, and everyone needed my energy, needed me to be, helping them all the time. So that was I would say that was a job. I created a job for myself. Even though I loved it, it was a job. At the end of the day, I couldn't go and do many other things. So with that being said, real estate really is just an opportunity for you guys for that next level, whether it's in sales or whether that's in anything else. But the revenue share, and as I'm circling back to revenue share, the revenue share, guys, is the answer. This is literally the answer to your prayers, because a lot of us have dreams of getting into real estate sales because we want to be able to earn more money and have more freedoms and have do something that we're passionate about. And that's great. That's amazing. But sooner or later, once you do that long enough, you also start to reach for that next big thing. Because I'm sure you guys will agree with me when I tell you this, is that when you do anything long enough and you do the same thing over and over and over again, you kind of start to feel like, all right, this is getting a little repetitive. I'm not feeling challenged anymore. I want to do the next thing. When we don't grow, we get depressed and we get sad. When we constantly have to do the same thing, we day in, day out, we kind of start to lose our passion for, our love for it. So initially what you should do is thinking when you're in real estate sales is like, okay, how do I make my team, or how do I make myself better? And then how do I execute to a point where now we're doing so well that I can hire someone to help me or replace me? And then sooner or later, how do I get into the next thing that works in line with what I already know, with what my skill sets are? And how can I automate that in the future? Now, if you're thinking of there's a business that I'm going to be getting into that's going to require all of my time, and it's going to be impossible for me to get out because that business is based around me, then it's probably not a business that you should think about doing unless that's what you want for your life. You want another, a job. Some people are cool with that, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you're thinking like an entrepreneur, you always have to think, how can I leverage my time the best, and how can I help the most amount of people with the least amount of energy, right? That's what really, at the end of the day, that's how you become a very successful, wealthy entrepreneur. That's at the end of the day. So that's the reason why today I wanted to start the meeting with that video early on, because how to make your first million. Some people on this call have already made their first million. Some people on this call want to make their first million. Some people on this call think it's impossible to ever make your first million. And I'll be completely honest with you. I'm going to give you my steps today on how I think anyone starting from zero can become a millionaire in just a few years, and maybe even sooner. Maybe you guys could probably do it quicker than anyone I've seen. But I'm going to tell you the first thing to get started with becoming a millionaire is you have to develop a millionaire mindset. If you don't have a millionaire mindset, you will never become a millionaire, because there's certain things that millionaires do, say, and act that people who are struggling don't. They do something totally different. The number one thing is, I spoke to you guys about this earlier, is you have to cleanse your mind. If you do not cleanse your mind with negativity, you will always be a reflection of what you feed into your mind. Your mind is like a fuel tank. If you put in the best possible gas or rocket fuel or anything like that into your mind, you will actually give out the same amount of quality, right? You give yourself, if you put in great stuff, you give out great stuff. But if you put in garbage and you put in like sugar or sand in your gas tank, equivalent to toxicity, your engine is going to seize. Some people take their lives. Some people are clinically depressed. Some people, they live on medication all the time because of the stuff they put into their mind. And the funny thing is that we don't even realize that we've been conditioned to think that it's normal, because a lot of the people we surround ourselves with absorb the same things and we relate to them. And that brings me to my next suggestion, or I'm giving you from my history, from my experience. The next step is the people in your life. So people in your life over the course of your life have been like seasons, and they've been like chapters in a book where, you had that season with them, but that season has come and gone. You tried to rekindle that relationship, but for some reason it doesn't feel the same. That chapter opened, that chapter closed, and now you're a different person and they're a different person. Or maybe you're a different person and they're the same person, right? And you're not that person anymore because you've grown and you've matured and you've got a family, or you got responsibilities that are different, your overhead's different, and you have to become that different person. Now, what I tell you is that it's okay to let go of some of those relationships, or maybe there's relationships right now that you're still holding on to that are not helping you. And you need to get yourself away from those, because it's bringing you down, it's dragging you down. So it's hard to gasp for air when you're underwater if you've got a lead vest on you. If someone's holding you down, it's hard for you to get what you need. So what I suggest is you start looking for people or circles of friends or groups of people that are looking to do the same types of things that you are, or even better, people who have already done more than you. So I was listening to Ed Milet the other day, and he was saying that his father would tell him, Ed, you got to learn how to play golf. He's like, I don't want to learn how to play golf. It takes too much time. And it's like, I just don't want to spend my day on the golf course. I don't want to do it. And he's like, Ed, you've got to learn how to play golf. And he's like, oh, but come on, man. Like, it's not my thing. Like, I'd rather be in the office working. He's like, Ed, it's not about playing golf. It's about the people you'll meet on the golf course. And then he said it all made sense. And then, he said, it's true. Like, the people I've met on the golf course are people that I've done the most business with. And I'm not telling you guys to go play golf. I'm just giving you an example of, like, there's groups out there, people who think at a higher level, people who have accomplished a lot in life. I always tell you guys, there's very inexpensive groups you could join, like Toastmasters, or people who are very successful and they take their business so seriously that they want to learn how to become better speakers. You think that people who go to Toastmasters are people who got nothing better to do and they just go because they're bored and they're trying to fill their calendars. On the opposite, guys, it's people who actually want to hone their craft even more. The people who get coaching are people who don't need coaching. It's usually people who are already successful, who want to become even more successful. Think about that for a second, right? So anything that would make you better, I think, is something that you need to find a group in that you can also join, so you guys can all make each other better, right? There's anything and everything. You guys can give me examples, whatever the case may be. So number one was your mindset. What you put into your brain is what you get back, right? That's number one. If you're finding yourself listening to negativity, cut it out. Go on a toxic news fast. Get rid of it in your life and just start pumping in nothing but good stuff. I'm telling you, do that for at least a week and you'll see the change in yourself and your psychology and your physiology immediately. Number two, get the wrong people out of your life and bring in more of the right people into your life. Okay. Now, number three is you have to create a millionaire calendar. You have to create events in your calendar that only millionaires do. Okay. So that means that the things in your calendar have to be challenging. Okay. They can't be things like that are you're already doing, because then you're not going to get anywhere, because what you've been doing hasn't gotten you what you wanted. So what you need to do is kind of start all over with a fresh slate. Everything in the morning when you have the most amount of energy that always has to be the hardest things. Recently, I've been starting to wake up, with the exception of today, because I was exhausted, but recently I've been starting to wake up at 4 a.m. I thought it was an impossibility. Even when I used to live in Jersey and I was a broker, I used to wake up at 5 and I thought 5 was pretty good. Guys, waking up at 4 a.m. really does kind of change your life. There's TED Talks on this, how waking up at 4 a.m. can change your life. And I never thought it was really possible for me, because I need my 8 hours of sleep. But you adapt very quickly. Yes, it was hard the first few days. You need an accountability buddy. You do need that. But after you wake up at 4, you never want to go back to waking up at any other time again. The reason why is because you can do so much before 9 that it's kind of like, wow, I'm so ahead of the game. I've gotten so much accomplished already that it really is kind of like giving me like time that I didn't even know existed. You can get so many things done you never thought you even had time for, right? Waking up earlier, guys, is going to be very important for you as part of your calendar, because that will the little extra things you can do all snowball and compound over time, and it makes you become a totally different being. I'm telling you, it's going to completely change everything that you've ever thought of before. Plus, listen to this. If you wake up at 4 and you go to the gym at 4:35 a.m., who do you think you're bumping into at 5 a.m.? The bum who was out all night drinking, or that person that is probably a CEO of their company, a CPA, a doctor, someone high level? Do you think you're bumping into the wrong people at 5 a.m. and the gym? Probably not, right? You're probably bumping into the people who are after it, just like you are. Okay, that's another thing you guys have to keep in mind. Now, along with health and waking up early, also comes nutrition. Nutrition, for some of you, you might think to yourselves, oh, it has nothing to do with success, but I feel like it has everything to do with success. I can't tell you specifically what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat, but I will tell you what's going to make you sick. Anything that's processed, anything that has a long storage life, anything you couldn't eat 100 years ago is probably not doing you justice. It's probably not helping you. It's probably hurting you, draining your energy, and it's probably killing you in the background without you knowing it. Refined sugar, processed foods, that stuff is literal garbage. Half the things in the energy drinks that some people consume, frozen foods, a lot of the stuff that you eat from fast food places, all this stuff, guys, is killing you. And there's certain things in this country that are outlawed, certain drugs that are outlawed. But I feel that sugar and these refined foods are more toxic for us than even those drugs that are outlawed. It's just a weird world we live in. But if you can find a way to start do what's called an elimination diet, where you can start eliminating everything out of your diet that you couldn't have eaten 100 years ago, start with that very simple method, you will see that your energy levels are going to completely change. They're going to completely skyrocket. A lot of us eat in the middle of the day or eat our lunch, and then afterwards we get like sluggish, right? We get tired, or maybe after dinner we're like, oh, don't even talk to me, I'm so exhausted. It's because a lot of times we feed our bodies with refined carbohydrates such as pasta, rice, potatoes. A lot of these things that maybe they're not refined, but they're starchy in nature. A lot of those things are very heavy on our body, and it takes a lot of energy for our bodies to be able to process that. If we can make our nutrition, our diet, a little, I'm not saying necessarily like perfect, but lighter in nature, such as maybe there's some diets you guys can check out. You got the Mediterranean diet, where people just focus on protein and vegetables and some fruit. There's people who do straight carnivore. I did carnivore last month and it changed my life. I dropped 10 pounds and 2.5 inches on my waist. It's nuts. And my energy levels have never been higher. I feel like that's one of the reasons why I've been able to wake up so early. That I've adopted now as a lifestyle for good, because if you do any research on it, it's incredible. But whatever works for you is what you should continue doing. Because what works for me is necessarily not right for you, and what's right for you may not necessarily right for me. But what I will tell you that we all have in common is that sugar is poison, and refined processed foods are poison. So if you can take those things out of your diet, I'm telling you, big things will change in your energy levels. You'll be able to do more. It'll show in your skin, and your energy levels will be like, people are like, what happened to you? Like you're a different person. You know, you look amazing, incredible. And yeah, that's one of the things I can't stress enough, guys, because I will tell you that at my heaviest and my most unhealthy, I was also at my brokest. And at my fittest, I was at my best. So I don't know if there's a correlation between the two, but I tend to believe that there is. I tend to believe that there is a direct correlation with that. Right. So next thing, mindset. We talked about that. We talked about friends and circle. We talked about our calendars. We talked about our nutrition. What do you think? What do you guys think is the fifth thing in becoming a millionaire, or on our way to becoming a millionaire, and crafting that journey? And there's no wrong answer, but what do you think is the next thing after you've got yourself the calendar, the nutrition, you got yourself the circle of friends, you got yourself all of these things? What do you think? What do you think is next? Anyone gonna give me any insight?
I would say forgiveness.
Forgiveness? Okay, forgiveness,
Of
because sometimes we hold a lot of anger towards people, right?
especially yourself.
And yourself, absolutely.
Forgive yourself.
Yeah, because every day is a new opportunity to start over. Like whatever we did yesterday, that's gone with the wind. Today is a new day, right?
Put in the work.
Put in the work. You hit the nail on the head. I was gonna say the next thing is action, and I don't mean just like regular action. I mean like okay, what if I said to you, Sarah, your mother or your father, whoever you're very close to, and I'm sorry if they're not with us, but I'm just giving an example. They need an operation to save their life, and it's going to cost $100,000. Would you find a way to make $100,000 if you didn't have it?
100%.
Okay. Sarah, if someone you loved was kidnapped and they needed $100,000, and that's the only way you can get them back, will you find a way?
It depends who is it.
No, I get it. But what I'm saying is that when the why is strong enough, when the reason is strong enough, we find a way. Like we find there's always a way to get it. I mean, if you think about it, right? Anything in life that you've ever always had your back to the wall and you needed to have it, if you didn't have it, you found a way to get it, right? Have you figured it out? Yes. Why don't we treat our goals that way? Why don't we treat our like, okay, our business that way? How do we get the stuff done like if it was life or death? Sometimes sometimes the best thing that can happen to us is for us to go broke. Sometimes the best thing that could go for us is to get a $50,000 bill from the IRS. Sometimes, right, that's what we need in order to get a kick in the ass, for us to be like, what the hell have I been doing? I need to wake the hell up. For me, it was getting thrown on my ass twice out of a real estate company for me to get my shit together and be like, you know what? I don't need anyone's help. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it the right way. And I'm going to show everyone that I'm capable of doing this. Sometimes you need people to fuel your fire, or you need circumstances to just beat you up in order for you to wake up. Because sometimes what happens to us is we get so comfortable in being just enough or making just enough, where we just kind of like skate through life, fly under the radar. And that's like, complacency is the number one reason why people never go anywhere with their life, because they're just complacent. And that could be a very dangerous thing, because once you guys work hard and you get some level of success, you feel like, okay, I've made it and that's it. There's someone out there ready to take your lunch. And believe me, there's someone who is new in the business, who is hungrier than you, who will come after your listings, come after your clients, and come after anything you're after, and beat you to it if you fall asleep or if you get comfortable. Okay. So complacency is the number one thing that's going to take all of us out. So action, guys. So what I mean by action is that you need to whatever it is that you would have done to help your family member who needed the help, or someone in you're close to who needed, or if it was life or death, what you would do to help that person, you need to do for yourself and for your business. Because if God forbid that ever were happen, don't you wish you would have thought of that ahead of time instead of being reactive? You were proactive. You already had your S in order. Like that is the most important thing for you guys to do. And once you have that killer mentality, right? Let me give you guys an example. We all love Kobe Bryant. I mean, even if you're not a basketball fan, you just love Kobe Bryant because he embodies so many great things. But for me, the most important thing that Kobe Bryant embodied was his work ethic. This man, no matter how successful he was or how good he got at basketball, he always worked as if he sucked. He always did 3 practices instead of the 1 or 2 his teammates would do. He would always hold himself accountable at a higher level than anyone. If they lost the game, it was his fault. It was just, he was always so hard on everyone else out of love, not out of like animosity or hatred, but he just wanted everyone to be like him. It's hard for high achievers to be around people who are mediocre or coasting or comfortable. And it's frustrating for people like him. But I admired his work ethic, and I admired the level of excellence that he was always after, even when he made it. Someone asked him at an interview, do you think you could be one of the greatest of all times? And he said, well, and at that point, he already had I think it was 4 championships with the Lakers. And when they asked him that question, he said, well, I still got more rings to go to even have that conversation. So what he said was MJ had 6 rings. There's a lot of other players out there who had achieved more than him. He's like, I don't even want to consider myself one of the best until I have more rings than that person. He could have easily said that, yeah, I'm a top basketball player. I'm the best of all time. I'm the best top 3 or whatever. He could have said any of that stuff, but he always saw himself as, I'm not there yet. And I love that about the guy. Even when he retired basketball, people were like, oh, you're going to be depressed. You're not going to go through the stage where you don't know what to do with yourself. Then the guy goes and wins an Oscar or something. What do you win? You won an Oscar for a children's storybook or something. And the guy just had the word failure just did not exist. So what I try to explain to you guys and trying to take from his mindset is that you always have to be looking for more by doing more, by becoming more, by taking the action, because he didn't get that way by wishing his way to get there. He did it by putting in the work and putting in the reps and putting in all the things when people told him he wasn't good enough. Take all of that and just make it your fuel so you can just crush every single day. At the end of every day, I want you to look back and say, well, I didn't leave anything. I didn't leave anything on the field today. I didn't bring anything back with me. I left it all on the field. I gave it my all. Whether you won, tied, or lost that day in business, you gave it your all. Okay. And if you can end the day and say, you know what, I still had a little bit left of me. I wish I would have talked to more people. I wish I would have made more calls. I wish I would have reached out to more of my past clients. Then you probably didn't do enough. Next day has to be more challenging for you. And that's how you really pave the way for you to become a millionaire. And one of the last things I'll leave you with, which is very important, is that millionaires do not have a scarcity mindset. Millionaires have an abundance mindset. I'm sure you guys have heard the terms before, but it's so important if you're going to be becoming a millionaire, because millionaires are not scared to invest in themselves. Okay. So scarcity does not exist for them. So if they have $100,000 and they have an opportunity to invest $100,000 in their business, they're going to do it. If there's a mentorship or a mastermind that they're going to go to that they know they're going to draw information and fast track their success with, they're going to do it. If they can hire a consultant to teach them something that they're getting in, that way they don't make costly mistakes, they're going to spend the money. Now, when it comes to a lot of broke people, they try to clinch onto their money as much as possible. And I see this all the time in real estate and real estate agents, where real estate agents, they don't want to invest any money at all in their business. And when you tell real estate agents that, look, you got to get yourself a buy a CRM, you got to buy leads, you got to, pay for your dues, you got to pay for this insurance. But Like, why do I have to do that? Like I don't want to do that. Like, you know, I don't want to pay any fees. I want to be a real estate agent, not pay any fees. I'm like, then you're not thinking of real estate as a business. You're thinking of it as a 9-to-5 job. And if that's the world you've come from and that's the world you want to be in, then I'm sure you would probably be very happy on maybe someone's team if they offer that kind of a compensation, or maybe you'd be better off as a Redfin agent, you know, where you can get laid off at any time for being a 9-to-5 real estate agent. So I'm not sure if this is, you know, for everyone, but if you're not like that, you're a killer, someone who goes out there and hunts every day and wants to make sure that they can provide the most value with their life, right? Because we're trying not to trade our time for money. We're trying to create long-term wealth. We're trying to create bigger things for ourselves. Only way we do that is by getting in the mindset that it's gonna cost time, or it's gonna cost sweat equity, or it's gonna cost both. And if we're not afraid to do that, then we're gonna get there much quicker. Okay, guys. So let me give you a quick story before we cut out, or maybe take some questions. When I started what was the most profitable real estate venture that I've ever been a part of, aside from EXP, I had $20,000 to my name, and I had a 5-week vacation coming up. And I know you guys have heard this story before, but I spent my entire $20,000 and I gave it to Joelle, and I said, Joelle, make sure these $20,000 last us for the next 5 weeks. We just started a real estate company. We just signed the lease. We had no furniture. We had red carpets or green carpets and red walls, or red walls and green carpets. I can't remember, but it was like 1970s Christmas in our office, right? And if you guys ever seen the pictures of our office, it was gorgeous by the time we were done with it. But I had 20,000 and had to climb Mount Everest, basically, in the business sense. And I said, 20 grand, make it last. I'll be back in 5 weeks. Not that I knew everything in the world, but I knew that I didn't know everything in the world. So I went away for 5 weeks, cleared my mind, cleansed my mind, read 5 books on business, came back a changed person. Literally, guys, I went from a scared little bitch who was scared to open up a real estate company until I got tossed in my ass. And I said, look, I got to make it work. Take this money. I'm going to go away, become a different person. Like go into the woods, kind of like what Rocky did before he had to fight. What was it? He had to fight Ivan Drago or one of those guys, right? Like that's kind of like what I did. Came back and I said, I don't care what people think. I don't care what people say. I'm going to be the weird one. I'm going to televise, or not televise, but I'm going to put everything on the internet of everything we do and everything we teach and everything that is a secret that makes me uncomfortable sharing. I'm sharing it all. And it ended up becoming one of the most strategic moves I ever made in my life by doing that, by taking that risk where if this fails, I'll be at zero. I'll be broke. Basically, like I'll probably have to go back to being a real estate agent somewhere. But I was already that anyway. Even though I was a partner in another real estate company, I was basically a real estate agent, because if you can get thrown out on your ass, that means you really didn't have any power anyway, right? So what's the worst that can happen? I go back to being the same person I am today. And a lot of us don't realize that by not taking these opportunities in life, you are really saying, I don't want to take a chance to be exactly where I am. When you're already in the same place where you've been, why not take the chance anyway? Because money is not the final goal. A lot of people think that, oh, money is what I'm searching for, or that's where my pot at the end of the rainbow is. It's not. The money is the grease that moves the engine, that turns the wheels. And if you don't use it to turn the wheels and get you where you need to go, that money is eventually going to melt anyway, because you're going to spend it on dumb shit and you're not going to ever get any value out of it. So might as well use it to invest in yourself and your business and get you where you need to go. That way, by you becoming more valuable along the way, helping more people along the way, and getting more skills and knowledge around the way, that makes you more valuable. So by being more valuable, you become more wealthy, because you add more value to the marketplace. You add more value to the world. And automatically, by being more valuable, that means that you name your price, that you can get more because you've given more. And that's, guys, in a nutshell, is the way that you can become a millionaire in a very short amount of time. If you haven't been there yet, or maybe even a billionaire, maybe this could be scaled to being a billionaire. I'm sure billionaires have a couple more tricks up their sleeve. And when I get there, hopefully one day, I'll share those tricks with you. But I'm sure they even take it to a higher level. And I just wanted to share those things with you because the message that Patrick but David shared earlier in today's call, I resonate with because I was there a lot of times. I was there where I felt broken on my ass. And during those times was when I was literally at my heaviest, at my darkest in my mind, and it all correlated to my bank account. But when I changed my life and I thought about things differently and I put the pedal to the metal, that's where business took off for me. And once you learn those skills, you can replicate them whenever you want to, and it's not a perfect road. Once you do it once, it doesn't mean that like it's all smooth sailing. Sometimes you veer off and you get off course a little bit. You need to figure out, hey, am I off course? You need to self audit from time to time. Get back on course. Get back where you're the same track you were trying to get to. Because if you don't do that, believe me, life has a way of correcting you if you don't correct yourself. And a lot of things can happen if you're not careful. So that's my message for today, guys. I just wanted to kind of change things up today and give you a little insight on what a lot of people are probably struggling with. And now, especially now that things are slowing down a bit in the real estate, I know some agents have told me they haven't closed deals in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and it's getting kind of scary out there. And really, at the end of the day, there's no magic formula to this, guys. It's just keeping yourself focused, keeping yourself on the goal that you're after. So thoughts, questions, anything you guys want to leave us with?
I'm just going to say that was so good. I needed to hear that. All of it. That was really good.
Thank you. What are you seeing? What are you facing in your life that you feel like you need a little encouragement?
Well, I know we've had these conversations that I get distracted. I get overwhelmed. I see all the shiny things and I don't stick to the basics and stick to what works for me. And I'm always trying to do the new things. So by getting distracted, I also lose business and I don't, I'm just not as strategic as I should be. And I could be. I've been in this business for almost 8 years and I get frustrated with myself when I look at what I'm making and what I'm not making because I'm not doing what I should be doing. And it hurts. Sometimes it hurts. It's like, damn. And when I see other people in my industry in this area killing it, and I'm like, why am I not? Because I'm not out there doing what I know I should be doing.
You know the answer. Sometimes we just need to be reminded that there's no secret formula. But Trina, one thing I'll tell you is that what I've noticed about you is that you've got all the pieces. There's not a piece that I have to give you. You've got them. The only thing you haven't done is arrange them in the right order. If you can just arrange them in the right order, I'm telling you, you're a killer. I mean, Trina, I'm telling you, you should be like top 10 at eXp Realty, period. Like I know you've got all the how would I say, the recipe, that it takes to be that. So you got the experience, okay? You know what to do. Just go out there and do it and implement it. And just know that the results don't come on a daily basis. The results come over time. People like Tony Robbins and other people say, a lot of great people say, is that people overestimate what they can do in a year and they underestimate what they can do in 5. Okay. So just give it time and know it takes time.
All right. Thank you.
No worries. Anyone else? You guys want to add anything today?
This was great.
Hi, good morning.
So what was that?
This was great. Thank you so much.
No. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you being here.
Louis, this is Ivania. Hi, guys.
Hey, Vanya.
Did you have like a list of the self-audited questions that you go when you go into the woods?
When you go into the what? Into the woods?
When you go into the woods, did you
oh,
have like a list of
oh.
your self-auditing questions?
Well, listen, the 5 things we covered in today's call, you have to, when you go into your personal space where you need to kind of audit your life, you need to ask yourself, am I doing these 5 things? Right? And if you're not doing those 5 things, what I suggest is you can start in any order you want, but I suggest you start in the order we spoke about today. Audit your mindset, audit your circles, audit your time. Like what have you been doing with your calendar? And then, just start to ask yourself, like, is there any way that I can invest in myself where I can become a little bit better? Do I need accountability? If you start asking yourself these things while you're away, you start to unlock a lot of powerful suggestions, a lot of powerful other questions that come along with it. What I suggest what you do when you go away is you read books on strategy. whatever it is that you're trying to do, because those books on strategy, and when you read books on strategy, never read a book on strategy without taking notes. So what I suggest you read, you have your journal and you take notes. Okay. For me, it works best on paper and pen. So if you can do that, I'm telling you, you don't need, sometimes we don't know the answer we need until we read the question that we should be asking. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense, because when you get so much inspiration from listening to other people's experiences and learning from other people's experiences, you're like, wow, that's been happening to me. And I didn't even realize that that was a thing until you read someone else's experience through it. And then you like learn to become a better leader or a better listener or a better anything. And you don't know that these things existed until someone obviously pointed it out to you that this is something, so I don't think there's a specific question. I just really think it's specific to you and relates different to everyone. But I do think you should go over the 5 things we spoke about when you're alone and self-audit yourself on those things. Look for books that you think would help you with those types of things, or look for podcasts that you think would help you. I think books are better than podcasts because when people write books, they go really deep. It's something that they plan out and it takes them sometimes, years to conduct. And it's the work of their life for a lot of people. When you listen to a podcast, on the surface, it sounds great, but there's usually no substance with it. It's not like a step-by-step. It's more like a pep talk. So it's good to listen to those when you're in the car or working out, but it's also really good to go deep. Okay. So one book I suggest for you guys to all read is Traction. Is a life changer. E-Myth. If you guys ever wonder like what books I read when I was away, if you go to culture, let me just share my screen real quick. If you go to culture.estate, you guys will see that I have here in our shop essentials, you'll see that the books are here. These are the books that changed my life. So that's the reason why I have this page, is because they've done a lot for me, and not they're not perfect or I'm there yet, but these books will literally they change you as a person. Okay. So if you guys ever want a good read and you haven't read one of these yet, I think, all of you will benefit from them. Okay. All right, guys, anyone else?
During the week, I joined a coaching course, Radical Change. So to me, what we're talking about falls in line. And one question that was asked that we had to, which is our homework assignment, which is a question that I think is very relevant that I never asked myself before. I'm going to use you as an example. And that is, if Lewis achieved $1 million in a year or opened up his own brokerage in a year by doing XYZ, I wonder what radical change can I expect from myself doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that changed me like instantly. Mm-hmm. Well, if I can follow the same plan, what could I expect could work for me?
Oh, that's good, Belinda.
It makes your mind work. It brings out different possibilities that, probably lay dormant that you didn't think about. But, even thinking about that, well, if Jesus, all he did was focus on the kingdom of God, and it got him miracles. If I focused on the kingdom of God for 30 days, what miracles could I expect in my life?
Absolutely. That's a very powerful, guys. One of the things that the Bible says at all times is like, you have to walk in faith, walk in faith and know that God is your partner, no matter what you do. If you can have your conversations with God in your prayer and say, look, at the end of the day, let's be honest, we're partners, right? And the better I do, and the more you bless me, the more we could do for your kingdom, so let's cut to the chase and give me the steps, have a relationship with them. Because if you're not going to admit that in your life you've had ups and downs and successes and wins, God has been there all along, and your wins have been for a reason and your losses have been for a reason. But going forward, I want you to realize that no matter what happens, God has a plan for you, and he's not abandoning you, and everything that's going to happen along the way is part of the process. And you got to trust that process and know that he's not setting you up for failure. Okay. He doesn't look at you from wherever he is and say, I'm going to make him think he could buy that 100-unit building, and I'm going to make him lose his deposit. Watch this. And they're out there in heaven laughing at you. No, that ain't happen. You know, it says, you know, you plant the seed, I'll provide the sun, and I'll provide the rain. So simple as that, guys. Very simple. It's a good trade-off. Thank you, everyone. You guys have been amazing. I want everyone to enjoy their July 4th, Independence Day. And I want you guys to remember on Independence Day, it's the day that we celebrate the independence of our great nation, of our republic. And I want you to also remind yourself that day that it's going to be the day that I want you to claim independence on your life and independence on your finances, and that you are going to kick butt for the rest of 2023. And you're going to implement these strategies we talked about today. And even myself, you know, guys, when I talk to you about these things, you're not the only one benefiting. I remind myself constantly when I say these things that I also need to hold myself to that level. So I appreciate everyone listening to me today and giving you feedback and participating. And I wish you all well and stay prosperous.
Thank you, Louis.
No
Stay
worries.
safe.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
All right, let's go ahead and close out with our prayer. Father God, we thank you, Lord, for giving us this opportunity to be here together, Father. And I also thank you for giving me the words to share with everyone today and the possible inspiration that we needed, including myself, Father. I want you to please forgive us for all the things that we've done, Father, that have not benefited your kingdom or benefited our lives or our families. And I want you to make us new, Father, in your name and to glorify your kingdom and to help other people, Father, who might be in a position where they just need a helping hand or the right word, Father, to bring them closer to you. I also ask you to keep us safe and bring us back here next Monday in good health and good spirits. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you,
Thank
Louis.
you. You too. Be safe.
Good with guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.